Welcome back to Franchise Wars and another recap, reaction, and review of Young Justice. This week, Exceptional Human Beings. Now, this thing has three basic plot stories that are going through, one of which I'm going to largely cover right now at the very start. We get to meet the Stone family, especially the Dr. Stone, who's the scientist who's like, I'm sure that science will not betray me in any way, shape, or form. Give me that father box. Yes, you think it's evil technology, but I'm sure it's fine. And his son, Victor Stone, who, is going to be cyborg eventually, so really there's only going to be one scene about this that I have a reaction to at the end of the video, so I'm kind of just going to go ahead and tell you that and move on. The other two stories are, one, the Outsiders continuing to train, which is kind of fun, because you get to see, Geoforce being evil Bugs Bunny making a magma trail as he, shoots through the earth, and an infiltration of Santa Prisca, which is where Batman, Katana, and Metamorpho are trying to figure out exactly what's going on at the new headquarters of the League of Shadows. So, without further ado, here's a little taste of the kind of things that Metamorpho can do for fun when he wants to, say, distract some guards. Oh boy. Okay. Yes, Metamorpho can transform himself into farts and trash cans. And as we'll find out later on, very thick and very durable fighting forms with spikes and stuff like that. Basically, he can transform into whatever he wants. It's a very handy power. But he mostly spends this part of the episode just transforming to stuff to distract people while Katana sneaks around the island. Now, we soon find out that the League of Shadows has built a new awesome headquarters thing with this epic skyscraper armored tower with all these guns and everything. But we're going to kind of leave them there for a while and cut back to the team who's training. And here we're seeing the first little issues I kind of wondered about when it came to the Dark group having their teams working at cross purposes. Nightwing can't tell Brion they are investigating Santa Prisca in part to see what happened to his sister, so Brion righteously gets a little ticked off, and Dick can't really explain the situation to him.
Either way, Forager believes Geoforce has left Forager hanging. Enough! You have us playing games of tag when we should be in Santa Prisca saving my sister.
Brion, we talked about this. We don't know if she's in Santa Prisca, and even if she is, you're not ready to go up against the League of Shadows. Just be patient.
Will we follow up on the Santa Prisca lead or not?
What makes you think that lead isn't being followed up on as we speak?
Are you keeping me in the dark about what's being done to save my own sister?
I'm doing what's best for you and your sister.
Yep,
Did you trust me?
we're already seeing some issues here. Batman, meanwhile, has started to investigate the tower that the League of Shadows has their headquarters, and watches as Deathstroke gets out of his helicopter to go talk to the new sensei of the League of Shadows, Lady Shiva. And a new ninja who apparently is someone we already know from that Vandal Savage episode.
And have you been settling back in, my dear?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
I'm glad to again be amongst shadows. Although I couldn't help noticing the empty bunk in my dormitory. If I might ask, what happened to Markov?
Markov? She washed out, but perhaps Granny can find some use for her.
Pity. I rather liked her.
In this life, Cassandra, it pays not to get too attached to anyone.
So
Yes, sir.
Terra was
I have
there,
Observed that.
and now Cassandra Savage is training to be a leader. Is she going to become Scandal? I feel like she's going to become Scandal. They're going to do Secret 6 on this
How
thing.
is our young Miss Savage doing?
The girl shows a natural aptitude. Hardly unexpected given her heritage.
I imagine it can't be easy training the boss's daughter.
Savage made it very clear not to give Cassandra any special treatment.
What a surprise. And how have you been holding up? Juggling two jobs is no easy feat.
Don't insult me. If you can lead the shadows and be the newest member of the light, surely I can be sensei to the shadows and the new enforcer for the light.
Of course. My apologies. I meant no disrespect.
Yeah, even Deathstroke knows not to disrespect Lady Shiva.
You'll know.
Ooh! It's cold in here, ain't it? Two things here. Number one, Lady Shiva is scary, and I like that, especially with the way she's actually kind of intimidating even to Deathstroke, who's basically super like Batman on steroids. And two, they mentioned the idea of Terra actually not being part of the League of Shadows group, but instead Granny Goodness's group. Can you say female Furies? Because I can. We then cut back to seeing that after the little practice session, Halo is getting her new identity made so that she can actually enroll in school. She's going to become Violet Harper. Oh, isn't that just cute? And speaking of the Harpers, we get to see Mama come back home, and of course we get to see Kelly Hugh and Crispin Freeman and the animators decide they're going to just stab the audience in the heart and just twist the knife a little bit, you know?
Excuse me. Bathroom break.
Is Cheshire here? Yep. Aw.
It's a lot warmer inside.
Well, Red, you haven't lost your touch. Or maybe I've just lost mine.
You haven't lost anything that truly matters. Come inside, Jade.
Well,
Come inside. Stay with us. Leon needs her mother. And I need you too.
no. You don't. Neither of you do. I couldn't cut it, remember? The soccer mom thing? Not for me.
Leon doesn't even play soccer.
You know what I mean. Leon is better off without me. And you are too.
No. You're wrong. I mean, look at you, Jade. You're here. Lurking. You wouldn't do that if you didn't...
I came to say goodbye. In my own way, in my own mind. Face it, Red. I'm not coming back.
Yeah, she's gonna come
It's
back in
time
some
you
way.
moved on.
That is just cruel on the part of the producers of the show. There's no way that's the end of Cheshire's storyline this season. I mean, come on. She's too complex and too well-loved of a figure to actually just have this be the end of her story, and that single tear those sons of guns had run down her face is totally meant to keep the audience invested and just hoping and praying that she and, Will Harper get back together again, because that's how the show rolls. Now, we cut back to Batman and everybody else trying to escape the island, and we get a cool fight scene here. Now, I've had to cut down a bunch of the fight scenes, but Bane shows up to go one-on-one with Batman, and is doing so without Venom, but is still kind of acting more like just a dumb thug right now, so I'm hoping they elevate him up a little bit to be smarter. Meanwhile, this happens to our other heroes, Katana and Metamorpho. Oh boy. I think they might be outgunned.
Any preference?
Katana.
Woohoo!
As you wish.
Oh man, this is gonna be awesome.
I'm the better swordswoman, but I'll admit, your soul taker is the superior blade. It will be mine.
It's an awesome overall fight scene. I mean, Batman and Bane just keep on hurting each other, so they're actually being portrayed as equals, which is good for Bane, even if, yes, I want him to be a little bit more ambitious and intelligent. They could make him that way. Deathstroke gets frustrated facing off with Metamorpho, because Metamorpho just keeps on transforming and changing, though Deathstroke can't hurt him with the old-fashioned use of explosives. Nothing can solve a problem like the world's most powerful explosives. And Katana does seem to actually be outmatched by Lady Shiva, which is interesting because, number one, I think Katana being silent here is kind of going to be played up with the fact that she's probably mentoring Cassandra Cain Orphan, a.k.a. Shiva's own daughter, and we might be setting up a whole subplot here where there's going to be this sword fighting challenge going on in storyline, and I really like the implications for that. The fight scene does eventually end because our heroes realize they are basically outgunned. Lady Shiva's too awesome, Deathstroke's too awesome, and Bane is too good for them to actually stay there and fight it out, even with Metamorpho as a superpowered hero. So instead they retreat in the Batplane, having confirmed that yes, Terra was actually taken in by the light, which is good. That's moving the story ahead a little bit. Now, there's Two other scenes we're going to talk about here. One I'll go ahead and introduce here, and then I'll talk about the other afterwards. Mostly it was just a fun one. Like I said, I've avoided most of the stuff with Victor Stone because the only real big thing here is we're repeating the plot line from the Justice League War. He's a hotshot athlete whose dad doesn't have time for him, which is kind of sad. He does have a teammate who is Ronnie Raymond, so there is that. We've got Firestorm coming down the pike. And then this scene happens with his dad, who earlier was like, I'm sure that father boxes aren't inherently evil and won't cause any problems at all.
Trust me, kid. I see great things in your future.
Yeah, I see the plot of Justice League War in his future. So Cyborg's coming. Vic's going to get a hold of the box, somehow it's going to transform him, he's going to be Cyborg. That's all we really need to talk about with that point. The other big scene that I think you may want to know about if, say, you're a big fan of Superboy and Miss Martian is they do have one brief, about a minute-long scene here that basically boils down to them getting jiggy with it, which is just about it. So if you're a big fan of that, I'm sure you'll have your mind blown by this little scene. Have fun. Now, this episode I loved because we got to kind of develop another Branch the Light as its own distinct group, and that is seeing Lady Shiva as the new sensei, and I really like the way they're emphasizing her being a teacher while being the enforcer. One of the things I love about Lady Shiva in the comic books is that while she is usually a bad guy, she's a bad guy who will gladly train heroes if she's convinced that they will give her a challenge later on the line. I'm kind of hopeful we'll see something like that. I mean, maybe she's already trained Tim Drake? Who knows? And I'm also really hoping that Bane does continue to elevate himself and evolve as the series goes on. I mean, honestly, if we're going to keep on doing this thing where, the Light has membership shifts, I could see Bane eventually evolving himself to be smart enough that eventually he takes Deathstroke's job, which would be interesting. So, this was a fun episode. If you liked this, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.